All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 6 of Par None. We were off last week because of some traveling and nonsense, and so we're back this week. We're going to talk about all the things that we did last week that were all golf-related. So we're going to get to that. We were at the Curated Golf Summit in Scottsdale, Arizona, Talking Stick Golf Club. So we are going to talk a ton about that. I mean, we saw every manufacturer, for the most part, hit – I don't even know how many hundreds of golf shots. Most of them good, some of them very, very bad. So we tested everything, drivers, putters, wedges, irons, whatever you can think of. So we're going to get into that, and that'll probably dominate most of the show. And then we'll obviously touch on the players, which you all know Scottie Scheffler dominated once again. And then we'll obviously end probably by talking about Valspar. So first things first. Golf travel. PJR, tell us a little bit about where we've been, what you've been doing, what I've been doing, what we've been doing.
Oh, I'll talk about what I've been doing. I don't know what you've been doing. So actually, I got out to Arizona a little bit earlier in the Scottsdale area. I played 4 days straight before the summit. I played Lookout Mountain, Legacy, Rancho Mañana, and Dove Valley. 36 holes at every one of those courses. That's some interesting rounds of golf out there, to say the least. The golf out there in Scottsdale is absolutely spectacular, though. Like, all those courses were top notch. And they were all different. Lookout was just pristine. Rancho was pure target golf. I mean, I maybe pulled the driver out of the bag 4 times for 18 holes, to be real honest with you. It was just 4 iron, 8 iron. It's just a lot of dog legs. You don't want to go long out there at all. Legacy was good. It was just a solid golf course. No complaints there. Dove Valley was an ass kicking. That was just a brutal golf course. I mean, I think it's like the second or third hole. You have to carry it. Of course, I'm tipping everything out. You have to carry it like 260 to cover the water. Then you have like maybe 20 to 30 yards of fairway, and then the whole jet straight right.
Oof.
So, yeah, after playing 36 holes a day, 3 days straight, coming into that hole, the first 18, I hit the perfect drive right down the middle, baby fade, nice wedge out. The second time I pulled it a little bit, I went through the fairway. I thought it was still a great drive, but you could not – everything rolls off the fairways out there. If you're not in the fairway, you're going to be in some nasty shit, pretty much.
Right.
And then I went to Talking Stick, and that's when the summit happened, and all kinds of crazy cool stuff happened there.
For sure.
It started off with Titleist and all of us getting a free driver. And then all kinds of other stuff. We got endless. I got so many hats and golf balls and just other crap. It's awesome.
Other crap.
But we get to demo everyone out. I mean, that's the thing that we wanted, or at least I wanted to talk about is, what were you most impressed with? What is it that you see maybe going in your bag? I've officially, my bag order went in as of last night. Me personally, I mentioned before in previous episode, I have the standard Paradigm head. I'm going triple diamond 3-wood. I'm going to loft it to a 4-wood. Doing the Paradigm hybrid 18-degree lofting into 19-degree. TCB irons 4-through pitching wedge with the Project X LZ 6.5 shafts. Plasma wedges, 2-degree flats, D4 swing weight. So I'm smitten over my bag. I personally think I wouldn't pick another bag out of everything that I hit at the summit. There's nothing in my mind that it's better than what I'm going to be personally playing.
Sure.
But this is coming from it's my own extensive testing beforehand is why, though.
Right.
But going at the summit, what were you the most impressed with? Like, what was the most disappointing club? What was your favorite club? Things you liked and disliked, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I think for me, I don't know, for easier, why don't we just like start driver and like go down? We can just talk about it. Okay, cool. So I think for me, my favorite driver that I tested, well, I kind of have 2. One was, I think the Paradigm just continues to be phenomenal, and it's just really hard to not put it in at least a top 2 list. You know what I mean? So,
easy.
And I think both, and all models perform well. I think whether you're playing the triple diamond, the regular, the standard, or the X, you're getting a really, really good product, which sometimes you can't say that about drivers. Like sometimes you're like, well, this one model really performs well, but the other 2, I can kind of take or leave. But Paradigm continues to be just awesome throughout the lineup. And then I was really, really impressed, which I guess I shouldn't have been, but it's just been such a long time since I've really played or considered Titleist drivers. But the TSR 3 and 4 are just, and the 2, I mean, they're all really good, but I really, really love the TSR 3 driver. I was really, really impressed by it. You know, I know we both kind of really like that Tennessee 1K black shaft that kind of comes stock with it. And so
good.
Yeah, I really fell in love with that
so
club.
Good.
Yeah, it really is good. And so, yeah, I think Paradigm TSR 3 are kind of right there for me, as far as just kind of like overall what I loved about the drivers. And then if I had to pick like a budget driver, my favorite budget driver was probably the Wilson Dynapower. I mean, it was just like really good, and I didn't expect it. You know, I think a lot of people, Wilson has a really kind of rough reputation when it comes to golf, and it just shouldn't. Like, they're just making good stuff. And, you know, we talked a lot about this at the summit, but Wilson, you know, up until the 1980s was like the top golf brand for pros to play. And then, you know, some questionable business decisions kind of dropped them down into that like prepackaged, cheap, new to golf category. And they have stuff for a lot of different golfers, and they really need to be in the conversation with some of these major manufacturers, and they're not. So I was really, really impressed with the Dynapower woods as far as drivers go.
So for me, obviously, Team Paradigm. I've hit every driver. There's not a single driver I've hit better than that. I mean, I think on the one of the holes that we played there, I ended on the fifth hole in the Shamble. And I don't know if you remember the fifth hole or not. It's a par 4. There's a bunker sitting right in front of the green. It's like 356.
Yeah,
I was in the greenside bunker. So there's nothing else that I could put. I mean, other than maybe like a shaft change. So I have the Tensei white in it now. I'm going to the Diamana, the Kali white. Kali. It's just Kali black. Yeah. It's not Kali white.
Kali white, yeah.
But anyways, and I'm getting Callaway. I'm getting that special cog with it too, which is super cool. So I'm getting it like laid down flat, which is going to help with my pull miss, because that's my miss every time is that stupid effing pull. So Paradigm, obviously out the gate, easily my favorite driver. I gotta say, you know, second one, like I love the Titleist drivers. Don't get me wrong. I love the Tensei black shaft, because for me, like I love the Tensei blue, but it's just not, you know, I don't know, it's a little spinny for me. The Tensei white, it just doesn't feel as good to me. The Tensei black is like a great feel, but the results of like an ultra low spin shaft. So
100%.
And I know there's some debate out there saying that shaft, I mean, everyone focuses on shafts and everything like that. I've heard from a lot of people that have been in the business a very long time that shaft weight is more important than flex and launch profile and everything like that. Like the head is the most important. Get the right weight shaft, and then you're good from there. I'm going to be tinkering with that on my own because I want to see those results for myself. I mean, I take the people that have mentioned this to me, I take them at their word because they're very, very knowledgeable people, and I don't doubt them, but I'm one of those people, like, I have to physically see the results in order to buy into it.
Yeah. 100%.
And I love the TSI. I like the 4 more than the 3 because the 4 felt like it had a deeper face, which I really like. But I got to say, results only, that Dynapower carbon is insane. It was insane. Like, I was flying it. My first swing with it flew 284. Yeah. And I did not expect that from a Wilson driver. And I mean, I was hitting the Titleist great. I was hitting it 285, 290. I mean, it was a good driver, performed well. There's nothing to complain about. But the Dynapower, it's just, and it's so easy to hit. I think that's the thing about it that makes it a little bit more convincing is, like, I feel like the Dynapower won't get away from me as much as maybe like the TS3 or TS4.
Right.
I love the Dynapower. The Wilson, we're going to get into more conversation with Woods and Irons. That Dynapower, that would have made a very strong choice with the price point and everything.
Right.
It was amazing. It was a spectacular driver. Titleist has a reputation. Everybody knows they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Dynapower all day. I think Rick Shields even did a video on it. Hi, Rick Shields, if you ever watched this video. He did a video on his, like, he was shocked by it too. He was just like, this is unreal. Yeah. It's a definite contender. And I think coming from the perspective of being someone that sells golf clubs online, it's going to be really hard to talk people into it. Yeah. And I'm just hoping that they trust us enough to say, like, trust me, this driver is going to blow your freaking mind. Like,
Right.
There's not a better budget driver out there. And also, all these drivers, unless you go from like top tier to bottom tier, I mean, they're all within fractions of each other. I think it's a matter of finding the shaft that you like, what feels good to you, and what inspires confidence behind the ball. I don't think you're going to see a 15-yard difference from one driver to the other. I will say the most disappointing driver to me, though, was the Stealth 2. I didn't like it. Didn't feel as good.
Huge.
It didn't feel as good as the Stealth. It didn't feel as good as the original Stealth to me.
Interesting.
I didn't like the way it looked behind the ball. It just did nothing for me, man. It did nothing.
Okay.
And I hit the HD. I hit all three heads, and I was like, Like, in my honest opinion, you're almost better off just going OG Stealth. Save yourself some coin.
Interesting. Yeah, I think so. Back to the budget driver talk. I think it's dead heat, in my opinion, with the Srixon ZX5 LS. Those are both fantastic. And I think they're the same price point at $499, which I guess we're considering budget drivers nowadays when higher drivers cost, $600, which I never thought I'd see the day where budget drivers were coming in at almost $500. So, but I think those two were both really good. I think I was more surprised by the Wilson just because I've kind of liked Srixon, and Srixon's kind of been upping their game incrementally. And I feel like Wilson really got it right with just driver. So I think that was good. I was honestly disappointed. I was disappointed with the Stealth 2 a little bit. It just didn't, it didn't just knock my socks off like the original Stealth did. Like the original Stealth kind of blew the doors open, I think, for me. And this one was just kind of like, okay, like, it's fine.
Yeah, it was very meh.
Yeah, it was very meh. Exactly right. I just didn't see a whole lot of difference. I didn't feel a whole lot of difference.
It felt firmer to me. The face didn't feel as nice as the original Stealth. Something about the feel was something was different about it. I'm not quite sure exactly what it was, but like the feel of it wasn't as good to me. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, I understand.
I don't get it, but yeah.
Yeah. My most disappointed driver after hitting everything was the Cobra Aerojet. I just wasn't, again, I totally agree with what you're saying when you say like there's a marginal difference and it's all about just kind of getting what feels best to you. Obviously there's a conversation, especially for more amateur golfers, about like, don't be in an extra stiff if you can't hit the driver 210 yards. I think there's a different conversation for, guys like us who we already know our specs. We both know we're going to be in an extra stiff shaft, and then it's just a matter of now tinkering with what feels the best off the face, what feels the best off the shaft profile, what do we, where are we going to turn it up or we're going to turn it down loft-wise. And so the Aerojet just fell flat for me. I just, I really actually liked the LTDX line last year. I was big on that. I thought it was a really good leap forward in drivers for Cobra to kind of be in the conversation. And then I feel like they almost kind of took a step back this year. So I was kind of disappointed with the Aerojet. To me,
I like the Aerojet. I like the Aerojet better than the LTDX, but I did not like the feel. I never liked the feel of those CNC milled faces. I just hated the way they felt. So this one felt better. It was faster. It's easy to generate club head speed with it. I will admit that. But I just feel like I'm generating more speed. They say it's lower spinning, but the numbers just did not get there for me. And I find that, so maybe if I got the right shaft in it, that might have something to do with it, because we're all kind of limited to the shafts that we can test and everything like that. Even though but we only have so much time with them. I can't sit there for 45 minutes and try every shaft. But I feel like as fast as I was swinging the driver, I think I maxed out at 118 with it. You give me that club head speed in the paradigm, you're going to see a 10 to 15 yard jump. Yeah. I just didn't get the results out of it. But then again, like I've said before in previous episodes, I've never gotten the results from Cobra that other people have.
Right.
I mean, even going back to the old original King Cobra one, that big, massive driver they came out with, like, I'm 33 now. Gosh, like 15, 18 years ago, something like
20 years ago, yeah.
Even then, with that big sweet spot, like, I felt like, and as popular as the driver was, I'm like, why isn't it going further? Like, I mean, I don't understand it. It could just be me, but like, because I know they have quite a cult following. Now the rad speed was sick, but I hated how it felt. My God, like it just felt like garbage to me. But that's just my own personal preference on that. But I see what you're saying there. And actually, a driver that surprised me, because I've tested this driver twice now, and I liked it better the second time. And I think it's because I had a different shaft in it. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I was hitting the hazardous, like the green smoke shaft in it, I believe.
Okay.
Was the Mizuno driver. Remember the Mizuno driver we were hitting on the range?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really impressive. And you really can't argue that it's a short driver, but when you have the longest driver on tour right now, being Keith Mitchell playing a Mizuno driver, and he was behind helping design it and do all these things as well. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's going to fit him very, very, very well. But, I mean, Mizuno's driver, this is the best driver Mizuno has ever made. And it's the first driver they ever made that I feel like is really part of the conversation. Before it's like, oh, Mizuno made drivers. Like now I feel like it's like I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of people gaming it now, but I think Mizuno going forward is going to be more of a talking piece when it comes to driver. Because they have the irons down. They have the irons down. They don't need to do much more with the irons or the wedges or the putters. Yeah. I mean, they can move in inches with those. You know what I mean? But the driver, I think they can dedicate a large amount of their budget to being a competitor. Mizuno does everything well. I don't see why they can't do drivers well. So this is the first driver that was very impressive to me, and I think going forward we're going to get a lot more people gaming that driver. And keep in mind, Mizuno does not pay people to play their clubs. I mean, maybe someone like Keith, but they're not out there trying to poach young guys like other people are. So these people that are playing these drivers, exactly. So it's one of those things that I think we're going to start seeing more of it, maybe not right out the gate, but let's say 5 years from now, I think Mizuno woods are going to be a talking piece for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I was pleasantly surprised. I'd have high expectations for the Mizuno driver, exactly kind of what you were saying, because we've hit Mizuno drivers before, both of us have, and we haven't really been impressed, and for good reason, is because, I think they were taking all of their resources and really kind of, they know they do irons well, and they know they're going to probably make most of their money from irons, so why not just focus on that? And, I love that they're kind of expanding into woods and wedges and those kinds of things and really making a play in the market space because they are a phenomenal company. They make phenomenal irons, so why can't they make phenomenal other things? And so I'm excited about Mizuno. I love Mizuno. I really wish, they did like offer more, like influencers or other people deals because, I would not be afraid to kind of like try to weasel my way into that team because they're just so good. But yeah, totally agree.
You can't say anything negative about Mizuno. I mean, they're just they're one of the very few manufacturers out there that you can sit there. You can't sit there and say, I mean, they may not have like, excuse me, they may not be loaded up with tech like everybody else is. I mean, they all are, but like brands like TaylorMade, you know what I mean? They're like a whole other level of technology kind of thing. I lost my train of thought completely.
You're just saying you can't say a bad thing about Mizuno.
Yeah, you can't say anything bad about them. They don't do anything wrong. They're not terrible at anything. Even their drivers, and the drivers, honestly, they're great performing drivers, but when you're holding them to the Mizuno standard, you're like, why isn't the driver better? That's all it is. If they never made irons and they made that driver, totally different conversation we would be having right now. But we hold their woods to the standard of their irons. So it's just like, well, come on, guys, So, yeah, I agree 100%. About fairway woods. All right, let's see more driver talk.
I was going to ask you that question. I was going to say, does fairway woods, so when you have, does it basically follow a linear path? Like if, TaylorMade and Titleist are our favorite drivers or whatever, I'm sorry, Callaway and Titleist, whatever, does it follow suit with woods or does it kind of supplant each other? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, obviously, the Paradigm Triple Diamond woods are out of this world. I mean, they sit by. I'm not a 3-wood player. I've always played a 5 or a 4-wood. So the fact that I'm getting a 3-wood and lofting it down is something new to me. But it just sits behind the ball so well,
right?
And it just if you set that club down behind the ball and you don't like how it looks, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what are you gonna like then. You know what I mean? Because especially the diamond, because it didn't have that top line, that sight line on it.
I know. I love that.
Perfect. But other than the Paradigm, gosh, fairway wood. You know, I would have to say, I'd probably have to say Titleist, to be honest with you. I got to go Titleist on this one. The Srixon was impressive. It was very, very good. But, man, the Titleist fairways are nasty. They're nasty. Wilson, it was good. It wasn't as impressive as the driver was to me, but I think, you know, once you hit the driver, you're expecting everything to be that good. Mizuno's a sleeper pick. And actually, I'm going to be honest with you, the Cobra fairway wood is a huge sleeper of the year. That thing is a rocket. It was a rocket. I hit the shit out of that fairway wood. But I got to say, if you look at feel and numbers and you combine everything, I would have to give Titleist my silver medal for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would say, again, it's a kind of a toss-up. I have 3 in my head, you know, and we've hit them all. Paradigm, again, that top line just with a tripper diamond is like something you dream about at night. It just looks so good. Maybe my favorite, you know, look behind the ball of a fairway wood in the last like 5 years, maybe. Titleist, again, Titleist, super impressive. I think matching, you know, like your TSR4 with your TSR4 is just an amazing combination. And then Srixon, I was really big on the Srixon fairway wood. I thought they made a great fairway wood last year. I thought it was the sleeper fairway wood of the year last year, honestly. And I think this one may be even better. This whole like Mark II line they've got coming out and this new ZX line. It's just hard not to love Srixon Cleveland with what they're doing right now. And again, that's something if you would have asked me last year or maybe 2 years ago, like, hey, would you ever play a Srixon Cleveland club? I may have like laughed at you besides maybe wedges. But now I'm just kind of like all aboard the Srixon Cleveland train. I'm like aboard 3 or 4 brands trains right now, just because everybody's making such good stuff. And I know we're going to get haters, you know, like you said, nobody can say anything bad about Mizuno except for my haters on Instagram. So I know we're going to get some haters just because, you know, they're going to say like, well, you guys love everything. And it's hard not to. We are happy people. That's true.
We get to test golf clubs for.
Yeah, it just speaks to how well people are making things, and it's not so much us. I don't think we're afraid to say something sucks. You know, like the Aerospeed let me down, the Stealth 2 let you down. So I don't think we're afraid of it. But I also think, like you're saying, like people are just making good stuff. So I don't know what to say. But anyway, the Srixon fairway wood is just really, really good. So I was happy with that.
No, for sure. And I agree with you on that too. Because like I kind of said before, like everything is fractionally apart. I mean, really, there's a handful of yards in between each one of them. It comes down to feel and what inspires confidence behind the ball. And also, you got to mention the sweet spot for the most part is maxed out. So what are they doing to make up for the mishits? Who's straightening out the distance the best and still maintaining the distance? That's what it comes down to, and that's where everyone kind of differs a little bit. But yeah, no, Srixon across the board was impressive to me. Like they were my, you know, if you know, I'm going full Callaway, but if I wasn't going to go full Callaway, it was going to be full Srixon. I'd already made that decision. So yeah, they're unbelievable. And I'd been telling people, they're like, really, Srixon? I'm like, yes, like, yeah. And it's always the people. It's funny because the people that hate them or say like, oh, Srixon. I'm like, have you hit them? Have you actually gone out and tested them? Well, no, I haven't hit them because it's Srixon. I'm like, well, yeah. Like, you can't, like, you know what I mean? It's like yelling at your kid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like it. Have you tried it? No, but I don't like it. I'm like, okay. But that's the golf industry. There's a million people out there like, oh, I don't like Srixon clubs. I'm like, you're an idiot. You're wrong. You're first of all, you're wrong. Right. You can ask any club tester, anybody in the industry. If you look at like my Golf Spy guys and all these little niche little testers, club testers, they love Srixon. A lot of them are playing Srixon irons that came out 10 years ago, and they still swear by them. They're amazing golf clubs. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah. I mean, people are stupid. That's what it comes to the verdict is.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you want to do hybrids or go to irons? Which one do you want to do?
Let's do hybrids.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a hybrid I'm with, so go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, again, I know we're just kind of sounding like are we going to, so do you want to include, we'll include hybrids and kind of those driving irons together.
Sure. Yeah.
So I know we're saying the same thing. Paradigm, again, hybrid. It's going to be hard. I think I'm going to go Paradigm.
Paradigm
Freewood.
wins all wood categories.
Yeah.
Paradigm wins all wood categories as far as I'm concerned. It's not even a contest.
I know you have that thought. So Paradigm hybrid is really, really good. And then, I mean, I think after the Paradigm, personally, as far as just like an actual hybrid goes, there was a couple that I think, were kind of just like, I could play any of those and be happy, and I could play any of those and like maybe need to change it out. I think that includes, like the Stealth 2, Srixon, Titleist, Tour. I think Tour Edge is a sleeper. I think their best club that they make is a hybrid, personally.
Mm-hmm.
The Tour Edge Exotics hybrid is unbelievable. So if you're looking for a hybrid on a budget, it may be the top choice. And it might be my second choice overall, regardless of your budget or not, just because that's kind of, they're good. They've gotten good at a lot of things, but they just seem to hammer down on those hybrids. They know what they're doing when it comes to hybrids. And I think I still have the Exotics like 721, so the model from 2 years ago. It's just really good. So, and then so those would probably be my top two, would be Paradigm and Tour Edge, which I know is a shocker. And then as far as driving iron, there were a ton of good driving irons, like those hybrid irons. That kind of seems to be like the revamp of 2023. I mean, the Mizuno Fly High is unbelievable. The Srixon ZX is unbelievable. I mean, obviously we know Titleist puts out a good one. Even the like TaylorMade, I think it was like the P790 one was pretty good. I mean, Paradigm doesn't have a driving iron. I think they use the like forged CB head for their driving iron, which was good. It wasn't my favorite as far as that goes, but I really liked. I think the Mizuno Fly High or maybe the Srixon ZX driving irons were they're hard to argue with for sure. I was able to hit the Srixon ZX driving iron off like a downhill lie in the sand and get it in the air, so that speaks to that.
Yeah, that's true. That we beat the shit out of that range.
Well,
honestly, I mean, including Paradigm here because I've said my gospel on that one. The Aerojet blew me away. That Aerojet hybrid was freaking awesome. I couldn't put it down. Like it felt good. It sounded good. It was a piss missile, dude. It just went. It just, of all the hybrids I hit, it was probably my favorite. I was kind of surprised. And they even put me in like what is it? Not the Forge Tech one, the black one, you know what I'm talking about. I like the Aerojet better. It was freaking phenomenal. That was easily my favorite hybrid. Srixon was great too, don't get me wrong, but Aerojet just, I felt like they were like, we're not looking to land this on a green. We just want this to go as far as possible. I'm like, well, that's what I want a hybrid for, so let's go. So I was really impressed with them. Driving iron-wise, man, that Fly High is sweet. That Fly High is awesome. The XUT, I love it. I had to make a decision between that and the hybrid in the bag, so I put the Paradigm hybrid in. But also the Titleist 1 iron is just unreal. I'm just so shocked that a 1 iron goes that high. I think that's the thing that gets me is like, oh, it's a 1 iron. You're expecting it to just be, it was like, no, it just rocketed out in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have to say that is between probably Mizuno and Titleist for the driving iron. But I think another reason for it is too, because they're so good at making irons.
Right.
They can make a driving iron that feels like they're irons but performs like a rocket ship. Yeah. So that's it. You know what I mean? Like I love the XUT. I would have put it in the bag if it wasn't for the Paradigm hybrid, but excluding Callaway, those two are probably my top two picks. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. I can totally get behind that.
Honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Stealth 2 shape of the hybrid though.
Yeah, no,
the shape of it. But I'm just a priss when it comes to the shape of it. If you give me like a teardrop shape, like an old traditional wood looking shape, kind of like how the Aerojet looked, or even the Paradigm looks the same way, then I like it. I can get on board. But the ones that kind of like that squarish kind of looked, I don't want anything square in my bag.
Right. No, I get it. I totally understand it. Those square hybrids are hard. I played the old Callaway Rogue. It was more of a square. They've really made it better shape. Like the Paradigm is more of that wood shape, which I really like. And I really loved the performance of the Rogue, but it was hard to look down and see kind of that more like boxy shoe, kind of like shoebox shape, which I just don't like that either. And so, the whole back to the whole Stealth 2 thing. And I've, traditionally been pretty pro TaylorMade on this podcast, or just in general, if you look at anything that I talk about. I was disappointed with the Stealth 2 line of woods in general. I have the entire Stealth 1 line, and I would not swap it out unless it was like given to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would not pay money. So, I've been telling that to my customers too, is just like, obviously if you want the Stealth 2 and your heart's set on that, I mean, obviously you make the final decision as the customer, but if I would honestly sell a customer a Stealth over a Stealth 2, regardless of earning more commission, just because like I feel it's the honest, you're not doing due diligence if you don't tell them that I think the Stealth 1 is just as good, if not better than the Stealth 2, and you're saving money. So there's really no reason to upgrade to the Stealth 2. I would wait until the next line of TaylorMades, which historically they've been pretty good with woods. So, I'm hoping I'm sure they'll right the ship here at some point. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to close the book on the Stealth 2 because I kind of like left it hanging.
Oh, for sure. Save yourself some money and just go original Stealth. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there is a fraction of difference between the Stealth and the Stealth 2 as far as I'm concerned. You're not just save that extra $100 or whatever dollars and get a wedge, buy some golf balls, put it towards a hybrid or something like that, or something else you need in your bag. I mean, if you're determined on spending that amount of money, like, hey, let's get you set up with something else 100%.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Okay.
Irons is going to be a difficult one. There's so many different variations of them. We did hit the game improvement stuff.
So let's start. I think we should start by regardless. Let's just do best overall, your favorite iron, regardless of class. It can be a blade. It could be a super game improvement. Just overall best iron you hit at the summit, regardless of like category. And then we can go into categories.
The Wilson blades. Easy. The Wilson blades were they brought back the little dot. Yeah, they brought back the little dots on the face too. It was just so pure. Like they've been doing it longer than everyone else too. Like it just was perfection. If you want blades, which if you've ever listened to me rant about blades, you don't need to be playing them. The pros don't really play them. Maybe in their lower irons, and the only pros that do play them are people like JT or Tiger or Rory. And I'm sorry, I don't think anyone out there can strike the ball as good as they do and as consistently as they do. Right. You don't need to be playing blades. But I really like these blades. But like they were just, I love blades. I mean, I have a set of blades. I've thought about going back to them, but it's just they make your bad days so effing miserable that I'm not on board with it. But the Wilson blades to me were just so perfect. They were traditional looking, but they also had like this sleek modern look to them as well. They felt incredible. They launched beautifully. Like they did not miss. There was not a single thing about those irons that I would change. Nothing. Give me the stock option. I'll be a happy guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Wilson blades to me are like when you decide, like people who are like, I want to buy a Ferrari. And then you're like, but you realize like to change the oil on a Ferrari, it's like $1,200. So you probably shouldn't buy the Ferrari. But man, it looks good when it's just like sitting in the garage, revving up. And that's what I felt like with the Wilson blades. Man, yeah, I totally agree. I don't think you need to be playing blades. I think we've both learned that the hard way from playing blades at a young age and then having to like really realize like there's no reason why we need to make this game harder. I have two. I'm also going to go Wilson, but I'm going to go to the CBs. So the CBs are maybe my favorite club to hit at the whole summit. I think they have kind of the same thing, like the feel of the blade, but just give you a slight more forgiveness or just like margin of error than blades do. Not a ton because they're still a player's iron. But yeah, I just hit those. I almost hit those CBs like you almost hit them. And they feel kind of like a game improvement iron in a way. I mean, you can still get the feedback and it's a smaller head, but man, like you understand almost like, why am I hitting this so well? Like I shouldn't be able to hit this so well. And
It
that
comes
was,
off the face so hot.
yeah, I know it was wild for a player's iron.
It was a weird iron. I'm not gonna lie. It was a weird experience.
Yeah, it was. I think we both looked at each other at the exact same time. We're like, what is happening here? Just not what we expected from Wilson at all. I mean, we'd always heard good things about their blades, but I think it just surpassed our expectations. And I wasn't even expecting the CBs to be good, and they were really good. And then shout out to our friend Kyle Emery, because he said this, and then I went and hit him. He was hitting the Hot Metal Pro. I think he hit about 4 buckets worth of Hot Metal Pros this year. And he was just like, they basically like have self-correction. He's like, I was hitting offline, and it was like somebody was telling the ball to go back into the center. And so, yeah, he's right. There is something about that iron that's like a perfect mix of like game improvement and player distance. And like you feel like a player when you're hitting them because they're not huge and bulky. And you're like, oh man, I hit that off to the left and it kind of came back to the center. So it almost makes you feel like you know how to work the ball, even if you don't. I'm not saying Kyle doesn't know how to work the ball. All I'm saying is that, yeah, they really do have this like almost self-correction technology, or at least that's what it feels like. And so, yeah, I was super impressed by them. I think they're like a perfect mix of if you want something forgiving, but they don't have a massive clunky head to them, you know, they're a great option for that. Even myself, for like a in-between player who needs the best of both worlds. So those are my 2 favorite to hit.
They cut the Hot Metal Pros cover a lot of ground. You know, you can get somebody that's shooting 90 in them, and you can get somebody shooting like 75 in them if you really wanted to. If you're shooting 75, you probably need a more workable option in your bag, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to play them because they're a great point and shoot iron. I got to hit the Hot Metal Pros, and they're hot, man. Like I was cranking them. My God. Like the first couple of swings of them was like, oh, this is fun. Like it's one of those irons, at least for me, is I hit the ball exceptionally hard. It's like, man, I was ripping at them and they just kept going straight. I'm like, this is stupid. And any of my miss hits, they weren't that bad. No. There weren't any crazy slices or duck hooks or anything like that. Like I wouldn't say they self-corrected for me, but they would, you know, worst case scenario, I'm in the rough kind of situation, you know, but they are, I mean, I already sell a lot of them and this just made this even more. Like it's like one of those things, like you're silly to completely discount them. And if you can't hit them, then you need a new hobby because they're exceptionally easy to hit. They're long. They do everything for you. Like just, they're funny. Freaking fantastic irons, except Justin Flaws. I don't think he can hit them worth a shit. So,
oh man, I hope he's listening. That's so funny. Sorry, Justin.
I'm not. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Good. Okay.
We see how it comes across the ball so much. I'm surprised he's not hitting it sideways.
Oh boy. Okay, we'll have to have Justin on for a rebuttal at some point. No,
that'll just be an hour of us. That'll just be an hour of me and Justin just shit talking each other. Is what it'll be.
I won't even be. I'll just be up in the corner. You'll just see my face. I'll come in and out of frame every once in a while.
You'll be the judge. You're like, okay, round 1 goes to so and so.
That's so funny. Yeah, exactly right. All right. Favorite budget iron. Iron.
Oh, favorite budget?
Yeah, like lower priced.
Gosh. Would you consider D9 Forge budget?
Yeah, for sure.
Then them easily. That thing was so easy to hit, and it felt amazing. The Wilson irons across the board were just effing fantastic. They were just so damn good. D9 Forge, I mean, wait. Kind of a different category here. Right. Tour Edge C523s.
That's fine. We're talking overall. We're not. It doesn't matter the category.
I have never, other than the D9 Forge because of the Forge, I have never hit a game improvement iron that felt that damn good. It felt amazing. It was stupid easy to hit. And it went a mile. I mean, obviously, I don't play game improvement clubs of any kind or like just budgeted clubs in general.
Me neither.
Those irons are, I was so blown away by them. Because I've sold a bunch of the C522s and some of the C523s, and this is honestly my first time really testing it. Like I've hit them, but I've never like, okay, let me test the irons out and let me try this, try that. And they were, I mean, I don't like the shape of them personally, but then again, I play TCB, so but they were unreal. And for like what, $550? Are you joking me? If you're shooting 85 or higher and you're playing ancient golf clubs, get the D9 Forge. If you're on a budget, D9 Forge or C523s, you're going to save a lot of money. We can build an awesome bag off of it too, because you're saving a lot of money. Because the irons take up the brunt of the budget every single time.
Sure.
If you can get us some irons in between like $550 to $650 or $700 for a set of irons, which you can, they're amazing. You can build woods and everything off that easily, like very, very easily. Like I think in my budget, Two Edge and Wilson were just. I mean, I'd put them up there with the big guys, to be honest with you. I mean, I like them better than like even like me, the T200s. They're not budget, but like I didn't like them. I didn't think they felt great. T100s were great. T200s, like the first couple hits with them, I was like, I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you were gonna feel better, like or just
I agree.
In general.
Yeah, I think. I think really when we talk about, I don't know what everybody's going to consider budget irons. Because, really, if you want to go budget brands, Wilson and Tour Edge were really the only two there. I think if you want to talk about, if we want to extend that to just iron sets that maybe come in $100 or $200 more than like the bigger names, I really have to go. The Cobra Forge Tech irons, to me, are one of the best feeling irons on the market. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. But also it's just like, I don't expect Cobra to feel that good. And I know I've talked about this. If you go back on my Instagram, my YouTube, I've talked about this for a year. But the Forge Tech irons, I remember hitting them at last year's summit and being like, why does this feel so good on every shot? Like I expected it to feel like a rock, and I just didn't. It's just soft. It feels like it comes off the face. It feels like even when you miss hit it, you're hitting it well. Again, they're $11.99 instead of $12.99, so I don't know if we're going to consider that budget. Same thing for like the ZX5, another phenomenal iron that comes in maybe $100 cheaper than the other guys. So again, if you don't consider those budget, it's really hard to bet against the Wilson D9s, like you were saying. And then those Tour Edge, I'm going to have to agree. They're just, the price of those for what you're getting is unbelievable.
See, the Forge Techs for me, and this goes across all of Cobra's like premium options, is, I hate to say that something feels too soft, but it did.
Interesting.
It did. I like soft. I like that buttery feel, obviously with the clubs that I've historically played.
Sure.
But something about them was almost like too muted and too soft. Like I like it when I hit the iron, like there's like a subtle, not like a crack to it. There's like a, oh, that was it moment. You know what I mean? With the Cobra, I didn't know when I got it. I knew because I can look at the ball flight, but like I couldn't feel that moment of impact that you kind of have those inappropriate dreams at night about, where you just like, you hit it and you're just like, that was it. That was that perfectly struck iron. You know what I mean? I never got that out of them. The results were there. This is the same thing. The results were there, but like it just did not. It was almost too soft and too muted for me personally.
Interesting.
You know what I mean, the results were there. I hit them great. There was nothing wrong with them. It just, I like the center of the club to feel buttery and soft. Like when it hits, it's like a little bit of a springboard. You're like, that was it. But anything off of that, I need to feel the grooves. I need to know if I'm in the third groove or the fourth groove. Like I need to know, like, where did I miss that? With those, I couldn't. Everything was soft, and that was the problem. It's like I need center to be that way. I need everything else to get a little bit firmer on the outside, because then I know where I'm missing.
Gotcha.
And I don't want. If I'm playing a bad round of golf, I want to feel it in my hands. I don't want to play a bad round of golf and go, well, every shot felt great today. Like that's not going to do me anything. You know what I mean? Like, but that's just me personally. Like I like feeling these hits. I like knowing where they're at. And it's not necessarily a bad thing for somebody. That's a great quality. But for me, I do everything myself. I like to self-diagnose. Those irons would be a complete nightmare for me to try to do that with.
Fair enough. I was gonna ask what iron surprised you. I don't know if it's the same answer as the Wilson, as like your favorite was Wilson. Wilson surprised you as well. Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
it was Srixon I knew was going to be great.
right.
Mizuno is Mizuno. Actually, the hot metal irons, they impressed me more than I thought they were going to. But I was not, I shouldn't say I was surprised because it's Mizuno. Like, have you ever hit a Mizuno iron that felt bad? Like, it doesn't happen. And Srixon I already knew was fantastic. Titleist T100s are great. Yeah, I gotta give Wilson like the freaking gold medal here, dude. Like, they are awesome golf clubs, like driver irons. The fairway wood was still great. I mean, not my favorite, but it was still awesome. Like,
Right.
Wilson surprised the hell out of me.
Right.
And I feel bad for almost discrediting them, knowing how long they've been in the game and everything that they've been doing. And actually, their golf ball felt real good too. The Triad, it cut way too easily for me because it get like the little spiky cuts on it. Like, I don't mind if like I shred it, and it's like still like one shape. But the moment the things start flipping up on it, I'm like, I can't roll a putt with something like with Chester Bennington's hair. May he rest in peace.
So funny. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, what disappointed you? What iron disappointed you the most?
T200s.
T200s
are a massive disappointment to me.
Mm.
Because the T100s feel great. They're your typical amazing Titleist feel. T200, honestly, it just felt like shit to me. I'm going to be honest with you. The D9 Forge felt better than the T200s to me. And they didn't look that great either. I was expecting something a little slimmer. No, they're kind of thicker on top. They didn't feel that great. I was like,
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna push them, but if somebody wants Titleist, like if that's their fit, then yeah. But like it just did nothing for me. I think somebody's thinking T200s. I'm like, screw that. Get the Hot Metal Pros. You're gonna like them more,
right?
And save some.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I wasn't blown away by the Titleist irons like I was the Woods for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I was just, I think you expect people talk, there's these Titleist apologists that I see on Instagram all the time, and they're just like, T200 is the best iron ever. T100 is the best iron ever. And it's just not true. Like, it's just not true. And I like Titleist. They make a ton of good stuff. There are worse irons you could play than the T100s. But, like, I think Mizuno makes a better iron. Wilson right now is making a better iron. Even, I think even Callaway and TaylorMade in parts of irons or in certain sets of irons are making better irons. So, this is going to sound really bad. In irons, Titleist is very boring to me.
Yeah.
They don't do anything new. Everything just seems the same year after year after year. So you just are like, the T200s came out, but they're not any different. They're boring. There's nothing to them. There's nothing exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, what gets me about Titleist. But they're not doing that in their woods. They seem to be able to be putting out woods that are exciting, that are, you're growing, you're developing, you're maybe gaining some stuff. I just don't see that really happening in their irons, and people talk them up a lot, and like they're not bad, but I just, it's just watching like a show. Sorry.
I think it comes down to the standard that we expect from them. And also I'm looking at this from the perspective of price point to result and feel and quality.
Right.
I mean, that all of this being said, the T200s are fantastic irons. Titleist makes amazing irons. There's no doubt about it. There's a reason why they're in Thomas's bag, Spieth's bag, Homa's bag. They're in so many people's bags. There is a reason. They make amazing golf clubs. Absolutely. But for the price that you are paying for them, I think you can get a just as good quality of iron or better performing iron for a better price point. That's my argument there. I'm nothing against Titleist irons. They've always made good irons. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's the honest to God truth that, T200s, the Hot Metal Pros, save yourself the $200-$300 and get Hot Metal Pros. I mean, in my opinion, they felt better. They were easier to hit. They're aesthetically more pleasing. And that's just me and my own opinion. But like, golf clubs are really expensive, and they're only going to get more expensive. Don't bog yourself down because you are a loyalist to a brand because you want to spend like, I play Titleist. I'm like, I don't care what you play. I honestly, full disclaimer, I don't give a shit what you play. I don't care. I don't care if you play Wilson, Tour Edge, or whatever. The name of the game is getting the ball in the cup. I don't care if you have a $10,000 set or a starter set. If that ball is not going in the cup and you're shooting high scores, I don't care. It's just what it comes down to for me. So like when people come out like Titleist, just stop. Nobody. The best is so subjective. Like there's no way of really measuring it out. I mean, okay, well, cool clubs can because they have the robots and stuff, but it's different in somebody's hands. You know what I mean? The way that it performs. But you look at price point to results. That's where I struggle with Titleist. That's where I've always struggled with Titleist is price point to results. I would rather put somebody in the ZX5s, Hot Metal Pros. Hell, the freaking Paradigm irons, Standard Paradigm X's blow them all out of the water as far as like a player's distance iron kind of category goes. The X is a game improvement iron, but it's still a freaking rocket. You know what I mean? So it's just think about where your money is going. Like, okay, if I'm going to spend $1,200 on irons, do you need to spend $1,200 on irons? No, you don't. Save yourself $300 here. You're going to get the same results, marginally different. Then load up on a new fairway wood or a new putter or wedges or a set of wedges. Save your money on the irons and then end up building wedges off the set. Get some quality wedges. Like to me, it comes down to price point. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if it's the best. It matters if it's the best for the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The average golfer, most of them aren't millionaires. They're not they're not spending tens of thousands of dollars on golf a year. I mean, if you have the money, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I mean, I'll take the commission, but like. You don't need to. You do not need to. You know what I mean? So if you're a Titleist guy, they're great. There's nothing wrong with them, and you're going to love them. You're absolutely going to love them. Me not being necessarily the biggest Titleist guy, I think there's better options for your money, but that's just my perspective. And also, I also hit everything too and tested it out on a track, man, but don't take my word for it.
Don't take his word for it. You heard it here first. Take my word for it, but do not take his word for it.
I'm not.
It's so funny. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think price point is a factor for a lot of people, and I think people buy clubs just because of the name on it, right? So I think, and I know you're diehard, you're ride or die Paradigm, but I think people will buy the Paradigm even though it's priced at $1,400 because they're going to buy Callaway regardless of what the Paradigm did. If the Paradigm fell flat or the T200s fell flat, they're still going to buy them because they're those guys. And those kinds of players are always going to exist. But for anybody who wants to think outside of that brand loyalty, Mizuno's doing a huge thing by putting those, I think you can get 4 through pitching wedge in the Hot Metal or Hot Metal Pro for like $962.
Dude, this one I was going to raise $962.
Insane. You know what I mean? It's insane that you can pay that for that high of a quality of golf club when what you're saying, right? You're going to pay $200 or $300 or $400 more for another brand that's going to perform as good, if not worse, than those like Mizuno or a Wilson or a insert a little cheaper here. I mean, we talk Srixon. Yeah.
No, but it also comes down to what's the improvement. You know what I mean? Like, so for example, like going back to the Paradigm thing, the Paradigm is a huge step up from Rogue. Like it's a night and day difference. You know what I mean? But when you're doing T200, then the second version of T200, and they're not that much different, not that much better, I struggle with that. Like if you're going from like say the Rogue STs and you want to go to Paradigm, yeah, it's more money, but you are definitely getting a better product. There's no debate on that whatsoever. But if you're going from one T200 model to the next, you don't need to. You know what I mean? I agree. That's where it's a struggle. So if you're going to spend the money, I don't have an issue if it is going to be a legitimate improvement for you.
Yeah.
But I struggle with them because there's some brands that seem to move in inches where others move in miles. And I have an issue when people are charging the same price point for something that's fractionally different. Like just find it used we can find used clubs. There's other options, you know what I mean? There's no reason to go out and spend $1,200 again just to get a different shape to the club and just a couple tweaks to it. You just don't do it. There's no reason.
No, I think we're both in agreement on that, and that goes throughout the bag from driver to putter. Don't do that. So, okay, wedges. We want to talk wedges, or do we want to move on?
I didn't demo that many of them. I'm going to be honest with you. Partly because we were hitting off of sand the entire time, but it was to the point where I was actually teeing up irons because I have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can speak to wedges and putters. We didn't test a ton of those, unfortunately. We've done a bunch of testing on those on our own, so I think we can still speak to the wide swath of options. We just didn't hit a bunch.
I love the Jaws Raw, obviously. Absolutely adore those wedges. It's the first wedge I've put in my hand since like the SM6s or 7s that I felt like I could do anything with it. It's just such a versatile freaking club. Vokey wedges were great. They're always great. Mizuno wedges feel so freaking good. That little copper underneath it doesn't feel like a wedge. It almost feels like it bounces off the face a little bit. Like the Mizuno wedges, I'm surprised more people don't play them. I'm going to be honest with you because they feel freaking fantastic. They are amazing. Yeah. Mizuno. I mean, outside of my Jaws Raw, if I had to leave the Jaws Raws out and I had to go select another set of wedges, it'd be between Vokey and Mizuno, but I'd probably go Mizuno because they have that sick blue finish. So there's that.
Hard to argue. No, for sure. I think, again, we just got kind of done dogging Titleist, and now I'm going to jump on the others thing and just say, obviously Bob Vokey and that division of Titleist has known what they're doing for a long time. I think there's the big dogs, right? There's Titleist, Cleveland also always makes a really good wedge.
I hate how they feel.
Yeah, that's fine. And I don't play Cleveland wedges either, so I'm not here to be that apologist for them. I think, and you and I were talking a little bit about this actually earlier today when you were just play, and you brought up a good point. You're play the wedges that feel best for you, which I know we've kind of been preaching that at all levels, but I do think there's more of that in the wedge putter game where you can make more of an argument for here are the numbers for your driver. Here are the numbers for your irons. Here are the numbers for your woods. So it's more of here's the hard data of why you should switch to these. I think when we get to wedges and putters, there's a lot more feel than just hard number. You can get hard numbers certainly, but I think for me, and I think you would say this too, is just play the wedges that you feel you can control and feel good to you, because that's going to inspire confidence, especially around the green where you need that the most. So, I know you hate these, but I play the MG3 wedges, and for me, they spin well, and I play them well. I don't know why I do. They just feel good in my hands. I don't know if it's a combination of the weight and the finish and just my swing. I deliver those wedges well to the ball. A lot of other people don't like them. I get that. I get why they don't like them. Mizuno wedges are underrated. Totally agree. I think anybody could play a Vokey wedge and play well because they just make such good stuff. 100%. Again, I know we've gone back to this 1,000 times. The Wilson staff wedges are
so good.
Unbelievably good.
So good.
Unbelievably good. So
good.
Yeah. And you don't expect it.
And with wedges too, everyone's spin, 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 spin. I'm like, do you play the spin? Yeah. Some people don't want as much a total spin machine. You know what I mean? Some people like to, to roll it up there, hit different shots with it. Me personally, I want something that spins a lot because that means I can be more aggressive. And that's just the type of golf I play. But for somebody that maybe doesn't want to, you don't need the highest spinning wedge out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
It's what kind of style of golf do you play? What feels good to you? And also, what gives you the confidence to hit the shots that you want to hit? That's what it comes down to. Wedges are definitely more of a feel and a style of play where, yes, you can get the data, but it doesn't always reflect how you're playing.
Right.
And with putters, it's the same thing. My dad told me when I was a kid that if you're a good enough putter, you can putt with a block of wood. So putters, I think, is very much a what feels good, what grabs your eye. Now, do I think having the right neck in the putter is important? Absolutely. I think having the right shape that fits your game is important. Absolutely. But there are a plethora of options from every manufacturer. For me personally, I like the Fang style head. I've always putted very, very well with them for some reason. Don't know why. Historically, all my best putters have always been the 7S's. Always. And I've tried every putter you can imagine under the sun. Every manufacturer under the sun, but I always end up going back to those. So I'm a big fan of the tri-hot. So they're just super stable for someone like me that gets a little wonky putting sometimes. Knowing that it's going to hold the line at the correct speed is super important to me. But as far as looks go, I keep going back to the 7S. And it's just purely an aesthetic thing. It sits up behind the ball, and I go, I feel good about this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's more important. Trust me, when you have that 3-foot putt for like $50 for the best round ever, it doesn't matter the technology in that putter. You need to look down that putter and be confident in it. It's that simple. And if you look at some of the best putters of all time, guess what? They're playing with ancient effing putters.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's great for the average golfer, a high handicap golfer, absolutely, because they're going to benefit from the technology. Kind of like with like the speed foam we were talking about earlier tonight. There are going to be people that benefit from these things. But for people that are better ball strikers and better players, it's a different conversation. You know what I mean? There's a point where technology is very, very helpful for a lot of people. And then you get to a point in your game where you start reeling back on the tech because the technology almost starts to hurt you a little bit. You know what I mean? Errant shots get more errant. The feel isn't quite there. You can't flight. You can't shape. You can't do these things. So you need to reel it in and get you like back to raw traditional golf so you can do the things that you want to do. So it's an interesting journey when you're a golfer because you start off with all the tech, and then as you get better, you're dropping technology off. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it depends on what level of golfer you're. And also, if you're just a weekend warrior, load them up with tech, make the game easier on them. But if you're actively trying to be a better golfer, you need to learn how to simple is best, at least in my opinion.
No, I think there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. I think, I think our generation is kind of was in a weird spot. Well, let me go back to putters and then I'll try to make this point. I totally agree with you. I have tried, probably in the last year and a half, I've tried 100 different putters. Like, it's ridiculous how many different putters I've hit, and for a while I've always been, this is kind of leading into my next point of like, we grew up in a generation with dads who played golf in very traditional equipment because there just wasn't a ton of upgrading tech back when they, like my dad played blades because that's the only kind of golf club that existed. So you all played blades, everybody played a blade putter or a bullseye putter because that's all there was. What's that?
Persimmon Woods.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's just like, this is what we played to play golf because that's all there was. And so probably like a lot like you, my dad handed me an old Hague Ultra blade and was like, here's what you're going to learn how to play golf on. And I was like, it took me a year or more to even get the ball in the air, just because it was just such a hard club to hit at 10 years old. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And so I think we had this really weird thing where we were kind of like at the boom, like the tech bubble of golf. And so we all got to add tech to us. And now we're like, man, I need to take tech off, which is like a new problem that is in golf. Like, nobody's ever had to take tech off before. We've just been adding to it. So I think that's interesting. And I know,
but you're dead right about the technology part. It's, we came in like the Tiger babies and golf took off, and then there was all this technology and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it kind of turned into, okay, so how does an old school golfer play modern golf? And then the technology does help. I think it helps more in the woods with the miss hits and everything like that. But also it takes the art of the game out. So for me personally, it is, we grew up in an interesting time for golf. And then after all of that happened, now people are learning with technology, which I think is kind of hindering golfers a little bit. But again, if you're looking to have a casual experience, then there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But if you're trying to actively be a good golfer, the technology, there's a reason why if you look where the tour players are playing, they're not playing clubs and everything loaded with technology. They're playing very simple golf clubs. It's not the club doing the work for them. It's them doing the work. Where average golfers or bad golfers, high handicap golfers, they need the technology to help them. And that's where everything has kind of shifted and changed in the last few years. And it's getting to the point now where there's almost too much tech. And it's you see this when we're fitting people a lot of times. They're like, oh, I hit it this far and I do this and I do that. I'm like, yeah, well, when you get these clubs, it's going to change. You know what I mean? Like, at some point you have to rely on yourself to hit these golf shots. And I'm very grateful that I was raised playing golf the way that I was, because I think if I was raised playing golf now, I don't know if I would have been as good of a ball striker. Like Tiger has his son hitting blades. He's like, no. He's like, you need to learn how to play golf.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time. That I think it's great for getting people into the game. It's great for growing the game and all of those things. But to be an accomplished golfer is going to be more of a hindrance than it is an enhancer.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, and I wish more people would realize that. I'm going to close the book on the putting conversation really quick, just to say I still play a 2011 Scottie Cameron, like traditional plumber's neck. I just keep going back to it. I think there's a lot to say, and I put this on my Instagram for those who watched. Like, there are great options for less price, just like we're saying. The Cleveland soft milled whatever it is, HB, they're half the price of a Scottie Cameron, and they have a milled face into it, and they have a shaft that helps you be stable. So to your point, like if you're a terrible putter and you need help in a blade or a mallet, like they have that. So I think that's amazing that you can get that kind of technology or that kind of help still in a putter, even though it's a feel game. Like there are people out there making things that are very good at half the price. You know, it's like everybody needs a Scottie Cameron or everybody needs, you know, an Odyssey Toulon. And it's just not true. Those are sweet putters. And I know we say this because like I play a Scottie Cameron. You know, we've all played expensive putters. But you just don't need it. That Huntington Soft Beach, or, you know, pick and choose the Wilson Buckingham, you know, what's another one? I don't even know, but I'm trying to think
the
of
putting
cheaper.
falls on you, not the putter. The putting falls on you, not the putter. Now, do I think you should have the right head shape? Probably.
Yeah.
Do I think you should have the right neck? Yes, absolutely. But when it comes to putting, the $500 putter is not going to necessarily perform better than the $250 putter. Right. Now, there's things like when it comes to stability of the face, I think an argument can be made why you're paying up for it. But other than that, you're more or less just paying for feel. And if you're a good enough putter, like I said, you can hand them any putter and they'll make it. So there's that.
Right. And I think you bring up a good point throughout golf. And I'm just going to, you touched on this and you didn't even you guys need to know that PGR is a really, really good golfer. Like he's not going to, yes, he is. Like he's not going to brag about himself, and that's fine. And I'm going to do that for him. But he's a hell of a ball striker. And even if you caught at the beginning of the episode, when we were talking about drivers, he even said something really interesting that I want you to pay attention to. Now, he's good, like can shoot under par good. And he said, I hit the Wilson Dynapower 284 carry, and I hit the TSR3 285 carry. So he's proving you that point right there, in that he's one of the better golfers out there when you talk about the percentage of people who play golf. And he's talking about a 1 yard difference from a driver that could cost you $400 to a driver that can cost you $750 with an upgraded shaft. And he's hitting it 1 yard different. So I just want to throw that out there as kind of a maybe bringing this whole gear talk to a close of that. Like, you can buy the Titleist driver, or you can buy the Wilson Dynapower driver, and if it's making one of the better players at Curated or that I've played golf with hit the ball 1 yard to 4 yards further, I guess you have to decide for yourself, is that worth $100, $200, $300, $400 extra when some of the better players in the world are not gaining enough distance to make it worth it? So I just think that's an interesting point. You brought it up, and I kind of wanted to bring that back full circle because I thought that was such an interesting point when you said, I hit this 284, I hit this 285, I think maybe to 290, and that's just like, if you're playing for millions of dollars on the PGA Tour, 4, 5, 6 yards of carry may be the difference between a paycheck of $4 million and a paycheck of $1 million. But if you're not playing golf for any money, it's hard to make that argument to spend that extra money. And that's just kind of I'm going to put a bow on what I have to say, and I'll let you go into something else.
Yeah, and I would argue the Dynapower is straighter than TSR3. I mean, I only hit 10, 15 balls in one of them, but I think it's more forgiving. I mean, Wilson is not by definition a tour head. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a beast of a driver. It was freaking awesome. Like, I just want one for funsies. All right, so let's go into the players real quick. Scottie, dominant performance. Minwoo Lee choked yet again. Very depressing. But it was a hell of a leaderboard. I don't know. Did you actually look at the full leaderboard here?
I can pull it up. I've looked at it. I can't quote it from memory.
Here. So Hogue shooting the course record was phenomenal. He was on a heater all week. Terrell Hatton, final round of 7 under to place second. Hovland was up there. Hideki was trying to press, then he had a couple bad holes. Minwoo shit the bed. Yeah. Cam Davis was streaky all day. Justin Rose, who I'm going to come back to here in a minute when we talk Valspar, shot 8 under. He was in contention there, and that's not an easy golf course by any stretch of the imagination. It was a good leaderboard. It was a great tournament. You had Colin Morikawa and Ricky Fowler placed top with T13, which is awesome. Morikawa T13. I mean, it was a great leaderboard. I mean, Scheffler definitely stole the show with his dominant performance.
Of course.
But take that out of the equation. There was so many people playing good golf, but nobody paid attention to it because, like, he was fearless. He was taking driver off the tee when he was supposed to be taking driver off the tee. He was making putts. I mean, I was talking to Shelby about this a little bit, and I'm kind of eating my words here a little bit. There's very few golfers we come across here that are, 5 years plus of solid golf. People get hot for 2 to 3 years, and they kind of fall off, then they come back. It depends on what Scheffler does this year, but we could be in the presence of somebody that is going to be a very dominant force in golf for a very long time. Yeah. And that is so exciting because we really haven't had that since, there was Tiger, then Rory went on his tear for a few years. But yeah, it's interesting. It's, the Masters is going to say a lot. Let's put it that way. If Scottie, for some reason, wins back-to-back Masters, it is going to be just, there's no words for it. It's going to be historic. And it's going to be the beginning of something even bigger and even more historic.
Right. No, I totally agree. We could be in the midst of just an absolute run of, the next dominant golfer. And he, as much as we've talked about in the last 5 to 10 years, we've talked about Rory, we've talked about Spieth, we've talked about Rahm recently. Scottie, is and is not flying under the radar. I mean, we just don't talk about him with like the fervor and the greatness verbiage that we talk about these other guys. And yet, if you look at just his career since his first win last year, I mean, what are we, 12 months, 13 months since he went on tour? I mean, he's got a better career in those 13 months than most of the guys who have ever played on the PGA Tour. Ever.
Yep.
So that's just wild to me. It's like you could take his last year, 13 months, and be like, that could be a career. The amount of wins and a major that is the Masters, now a Players' Championship. I mean, you could call it quits and be great. Same thing for Rahm and same thing for all those guys. But Scottie just kind of still, I don't know why, one in the world. I don't know if it's just because he's an everyman. He's just a lighthearted guy. But he just doesn't get that kind of ferocity and verbiage that those other guys get. And yet, here we are with his name again, and we're talking about him again. And there's a good chance we'll talk about him again before April's over. So, sure. I mean, the guy's just all time. I mean, it's wild how good he is.
We're going to see a lot of Rahm and Scheffler battles, I think, which is going to be super exciting because I like those natural rivalries. And then you got to keep in mind, Scottie came out this year to first tournament that he ever won. He had to go out and defend. He defended it. Then he came out to the Players, and then he won the Players. If he pumps out 2 or 3 more wins this season, it's just I don't see why he wouldn't be able to, but it's unreal. What he's doing is unreal.
The season, it's weird.
It's hard to not put him in every lineup now. I'm going to be honest with you. It's him and Rahm both, you know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see going forward. Dominant performance of the Players. Sorry we couldn't predict anything on it. We were too busy demoing all the golf clubs so we could tell you what was good and what wasn't good. So
yeah, I didn't watch a ton of it. I will say I saw something really cool on Twitter, and I can't remember who tweeted this out, but they were saying hey, Tom Hoagie just won $1.5 million, and I guarantee he's flying Coach home. And then Tom Hoagie actually responded to the tweet with a picture, and he's like, 21C, baby, and he was in his aisle seat flying home Coach. So I just thought that was hilarious, and just
he actually took a picture of the seat that he was in flying home.
Awesome.
And he actually had to cancel 2 flights because he thought he was going to miss the cut. He missed the cut on the line, then went out and shot the course record, then made a damn good run on Sunday. So
all-time power move there.
That happened. And you're frozen. Oh, well.
Okay.
I'm going to go into the Valspar.
Yep, Valspar
conversation. So Valspar actually has a pretty good field this week. Better than I was expecting when I was looking at the lineup. We have, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas is in it. Tommy Fleetwood, Keegan Bradley, Justin Rose. There's Adam Hadwin is in it, which I don't know why we don't talk about him more. Justin Suh is another guy no one's talking about. He's a Cobra staff guy. He's been playing very well. We have Fitzpatrick here as well, trying to get heated up for the Masters in a couple weeks, which I can't wait for us to have that conversation. So a lot of good golfers this week. Gary Woodland is like the under the radar pick as of the moment. He looks good. I mean, for me, my own personal picks, I got to say, are, to win it, to outright win it, is between Justin Rose and Keegan Bradley. Rose riding the momentum, and I would love to see him get 2 wins in one season. And then Keegan just always sneaks in there. This is a good course setup for him. I would like to see him get another win. I really think he wants, from my understanding, he's trying to make the Ryder Cup team this year. So I'm rooting for him more than Rosie, because Rosie is the enemy this year. Even though I love Rosie, but Ryder Cup year, you're the enemy. But Keegan Bradley, I want to see him win. My sleeper pick this week, though, is Ben Griffin. He has had a solid start to this year. He's only a rookie, only one missed cut, and he hasn't had, other than the missed cut, he has not had a finish less than 30, tied for 35th. This is a great place to get your first win. He has the game to do it. I believe he's an all Mizuno guy, too. So that'd be even more interesting with Keith Mitchell coming up, all Mizuno. He's playing very, very well. See Ben Griffin, that'd do a lot of good things for Mizuno if Ben Griffin's able to make that happen. So those are my sleeper picks. My co-host's internet had cut out, so you got to deal with me in the farewell. So I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Please make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and give us those likes. Leave us the 5 stars, leave us comments. We want to interact with all of you. We love doing this. We're coming up in episode 7 next week, and I can't wait to get started on that and get that going. After that, we're talking about having some guest hosts on here as well. Very exciting stuff, but thank you for everyone that's been listening so far. We couldn't appreciate it anymore. We've gotten a bunch of incredible messages from people telling us how much they like the show and they listened to it on their way to work. Got some messages wondering where we were last week, too. So I appreciate the love and support. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please tell your buddies. All of those things. Forever grateful for you. Again, I'm PJR. You can find me on Instagram as PJR Scratch Golf. Ryan Hernandez, you can find him as Ryan Hernandez on Instagram. You need to get fit for golf clubs. You can instant message us. We can hook you up. We can help you out. So sending my love. Everyone have a great day. Enjoy your hump day. Golf season is here. The Masters, the first majors around the corner. So much to be excited for. It's time. It's that time of the year that we all look forward to. The snow is going to be melting soon, so let's get after it. Let's have the best golf season ever, all right? Sending my love. Deuces.